The sign was old and rusty, so rusty I could barely read the words. Oak Creek Rest Stop, it said. Or maybe it was Goat Creek. The paint had peeled away, leaving jagged letters that looked like bony fingers pointing me off the highway. I probably should have kept driving. My gut twisted into a tight knot, the kind you get right before a roller coaster drops. But the gas tank in my van was almost empty. The little red light had been blinking for the last 20 miles. It was like a tiny angry eye, warning me. I had no choice. I had to stop. I pulled the van into one of the empty parking spots. The place was a ghost town, not a single other car, not a single truck. Just my beat-up blue van and a whole lot of darkness. The gas station building was small and dark. Its windows were like vacant eyes staring out into the night. A single light flickered above the pumps, buzzing like an angry insect. It cast long, dancing shadows that seemed to twist and writhe on the cracked pavement. Why was it so quiet? I couldn't even hear the usual highway hum. It was like the whole world was holding its breath. A shiver crawled up my spine, a cold spider scurrying over my skin. I locked the doors. Click. Clack. The sound was loud in the heavy silence. Too loud. I told myself I was just tired. I had been driving for 10 hours straight, all the way from my old town. This was just a normal stop, a creepy, deserted, middle-of-nowhere stop, but normal. I decided to get some sleep, just a few hours. Then I would get gas when the station opened and be on my way. I climbed into the back of the van, pulling my sleeping bag up to my chin, but sleep wouldn't come. My eyes kept snapping open. Every tiny sound made me jump. Was that the wind, or something else? I stared at the dark ceiling of the van, my heart thumping against my ribs like a trapped bird. Thump, 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 thump. The silence outside wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. It was watching me. I felt like I was the only person left on Earth, stranded on a tiny island of asphalt in a sea of black, empty trees. I pulled the sleeping bag tighter, wishing I had never ever stopped here. Just as I started to drift off, I heard it. A voice. It was low, a rumbling whisper that seemed to come from right outside my window. I froze, every muscle in my body tensing up. My ears strained, trying to catch the words. It wasn't the radio. I had turned that off hours ago. It wasn't my phone either. This was different. It sounded like someone was mumbling, their words slurring together into a strange, guttural sound. It was close. Way too close. I held my breath, hoping they would just go away and leave me alone. Then I heard another voice join the first one. This one was higher, more like a hiss. They were talking to each other. I couldn't make out what they were saying. The words were a jumble, like a language I didn't know. But the tone, oh, the tone sent ice-cold dread flooding through my veins. It was mean. It was greedy. It sounded like they had found something they wanted. I slowly, carefully, peeked through a tiny gap in the curtains I had hung over the van's back windows. My heart hammered so hard I thought it would burst. All I could see were shapes. Two tall, thin shadows moving in the gloom just beyond the flickering gas station light. They weren't just standing there, they were circling the van. Slowly, like sharks circling their prey. One of them stopped near the front tire. He bent down, and I heard a sharp hissing sound. Pshh. It was the sound of air escaping. My tire. He had done something to my tire. Panic began to bubble up in my throat, hot and sour. I was trapped. They were trapping me here. My mind raced, trying to make sense of it. Who were these guys? What did they want from me? My van wasn't fancy. I didn't have anything valuable. Just some clothes, a cooler full of sandwiches, and a map of the country. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to wish them away. Go away, go away, go away, I chanted silently in my head. But they didn't go away. The whispering continued, a constant, menacing drone that wrapped around the van. It felt like they were getting closer, their voices growing louder and more excited. That's when the tapping started. Tap, tap, tap. It was on the side door of the van, right next to my head. The sound was soft at first, like a fingernail lightly drumming on the metal. But it was deliberate. It wasn't the wind or a branch. Someone was out there, trying to get my attention. Tap, 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 tap. My breath hitched in my chest. I wanted to scream, but the sound was stuck in my throat, a hard lump of pure terror. I stayed perfectly still, pretending I wasn't there. Maybe if they thought the van was empty, they would leave. The tapping stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Beautiful, wonderful silence. I let out a shaky breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. Maybe they had given up. Maybe they were gone. But the hope was crushed almost immediately. A new sound started. A scraping noise. Scrape! It was the sound of metal on metal. They were trying the door handle, jiggling it back and forth. Jiggle, jiggle, click, jiggle, jiggle, click. They were trying to open the door. They were trying to get in. I scrambled away from the door, pressing myself against the far wall of the van. My mind was a blur of fear. I had to do something. I couldn't just sit here and wait for them to break in. My eyes darted around the dark interior of the van, searching for anything I could use as a weapon. A tire iron? It was buried under a pile of junk in the back. A heavy flashlight? The batteries were dead. I was helpless. The jiggling became more frantic, more violent. The whole van shook with the force of their efforts. They weren't just whispering anymore. They were talking. "It's locked," one of them growled, his voice a low rumble right outside the thin metal wall. "Just break the window," the other one hissed back. "Break the window." The words echoed in my head. They were going to break the window and climb inside. I had to get out of there. I had to get to the driver's seat. It was my only chance. My only escape. I crawled on my hands and knees, trying not to make a sound as the van rocked back and forth. As I reached the front of the van, a face appeared in the driver's side window. It was a horrible face. Pale and gaunt, with dark, sunken eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. A greasy smile stretched across his thin lips, showing yellowed teeth. He pressed his face against the glass, his breath fogging it up. He saw me. Our eyes met for a split second, and a jolt of pure, undiluted fear shot through me. He raised a hand and tapped on the glass, that same terrible smile never leaving his face. Tap, tap. He was toying with me. I didn't hesitate. I threw myself into the driver's seat, my hands fumbling for the keys in the ignition. They were still there. Thank goodness, they were still there. My fingers were shaking so badly, it took me 3 tries to get the key in. "Please start, please start, please start." I begged the old van. The men outside started banging on the windows now. Bam, bam, bam. The sound was deafening. The glass shuddered, and I was sure it was going to shatter into a million pieces. The smiling man's face was still there, watching my every move. I twisted the key. The engine sputtered. It coughed. It whined. It refused to turn over. "No, no, no!" I cried out loud, my voice cracking with panic. I tried again. Grind, whine, sputter. The men were shouting now, their voices muffled but full of anger. One of them ran to the front of the van and started kicking the headlight. Crunch. The world outside my windshield went dark on one side. They were destroying my van. They were trying to break me. I took a deep breath, closed my eyes, and turned the key one last time. The engine roared to life. It was the most beautiful sound I had ever heard. I didn't wait. I slammed the van into reverse, flooring the gas pedal. The tires screeched on the pavement. The van lurched backwards, swinging wildly. I saw the 2 men jump back, their faces twisted in surprise and rage. I spun the wheel, shifted into drive, and stomped on the accelerator. The van shot forward, but it felt wrong. It was lopsided and bumpy, the flat tire. It was pulling the van to one side, but I didn't care. I just had to get away. The van fishtailed as I swerved back onto the empty highway, the flattened front tire making a horrible thump, thump, thump against the road. I risked a glance in the rearview mirror. The 2 men were standing in the middle of the rest stop, watching me go. They looked like 2 evil statues under the single flickering light. Then, they were gone, swallowed by the darkness as I sped away. My heart was still trying to beat its way out of my chest. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles were white. I was alive. I was driving away. I drove for what felt like hours, the van groaning and complaining with every rotation of the ruined tire. I didn't dare slow down. I didn't dare stop. Every shadow on the side of the road looked like a person waiting for me. Every pair of headlights behind me sent a fresh wave of terror through my body. Was it them? Were they following me? I kept pushing the old van, praying it wouldn't give out. The sun was just beginning to rise, painting the dark sky with streaks of pink and orange, when I finally saw it, the lights of a town. I pulled into the parking lot of an all-night diner, the van limping to a stop. The place was bright and warm, filled with the smell of coffee and bacon. I stumbled inside, my body shaking uncontrollably. A kind-faced waitress asked if I was okay. I must have looked like I'd seen a ghost. All I could do was nod and order a coffee. As I sat there, wrapped in the warmth of the diner, the fear slowly began to fade, replaced by a chilling realization of how close I had come to something truly terrible. I never found out who those men were or what they wanted. Maybe they just wanted to rob me, or maybe it was something worse. I try not to think about it, but sometimes, late at night, I still hear the whispers. I still see that greasy, smiling face pressed against the glass. I finished my cross-country trip, but I never stopped at a deserted rest stop again. I learned a hard lesson that night. Some darkness is better left unexplored, and the real monsters don't hide under your bed. Sometimes they're just waiting for you at the next gas station.